Welcome back, everybody. In this video we're going to be taking this piece of rebar and forging a tiny hammer. Now most of you are probably unfamiliar with tiny hammers, so let me explain. Tiny hammers are little bitty hammers used to peen pins on knife handles, and I use my little tiny hammer here on this little bitty anvil, and it works really well. But most people think you use a 2-pound hammer to peen, and that's just not true. For some reason, most people think that blacksmiths always have to use the biggest hammer available in the shop. But this isn't so. So this is what happens when you peen with a 2-pound hammer. When peening with a 2-pound hammer, the force behind the hammer just bends over your pins. But when you use something like this little 2-ounce hammer or little 3-ounce hammer, it peens the head very well and gives a nice finish. Just like that. So let's get back to forging. Let's forge out this hammer. Now I'm going to do a lot of things that I've never done before. First of all, I've only ever forged one tiny hammer before because I'm a bladesmith. I'm not a blacksmith. I wouldn't really consider myself to be a hammersmith or anything like that. So we're going to actually try drifting this one. I've never drifted anything before, and I really don't have drifting equipment. I just have this little punch that I made a while back, and we're going to try that. This is going to be a little mini cross peen, so we're going to draw out the cross peen and then flatten the spot to drift it. Now starting off, it went pretty well. It started drifting off one side, so I flipped it over and decided I'll just use the other side and redrift it, and everything should pop out just fine. But I obviously have no idea what I'm doing, because as I'm drifting this, I think that I'm doing okay, but I'm hammering on this and my hand is slipping, as you can see, and then my hand slipped down just a little bit too far, causing me to burn my finger. Got me just a little bit. We're going to trim the end of our cross peen and cut it out and start grinding. So I got this new grinder. This is a mini dictator grinder. That's the actual brand name. They're made in Oregon. It's a really nice grinder. I just got it, so as you can see, I haven't adjusted the tracking to its proper area, so it kind of wanders a little bit. But overall, this is a really sweet grinder. It's a huge upgrade from the 1x30. We're just going to rough this out and then get it polished to 600 grit on the belts. Now we're going to use a piece of wood for the handle. This wood is maple wood from eBay. We're going to cut off a chunk and we're going to grind out our handle on the 2x72. I got the tracking pretty well adjusted now. It's not 100% perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. We'll run our handle on the slack belt to get a nice rounded finish to it. Much faster at hand sanding. But we will do a little hand sanding. We're going to hand sand it to 80 grit. Now some of you are thinking, well, why such a low grit? Well, the reason is this is a hammer, and I don't want it slipping out of my hand when I'm using it. And I also want it to have a nice older look to it. Almost all the way fit up here. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done. We'll file around the bottom and then hand sand it a little bit more. It'll be all ready to go. Here's some walnut stain. We'll stain it real quick, let it sit for 24 hours, and then do our final touches. And the final touch, which is putting our wedge in the top of this little hammer. I made this little wedge from a piece of leaf spring that was laying on the floor. And here it is. I think it turned out not too bad for my first time ever drifting and my second time making a tiny hammer. So thank you guys so much for watching, and you all have a great one.